The lost explorer, the alarm klaxon, echoed through Earth Defense Station Omega as Captain Elena Rodriguez rushed onto the bridge. Her dark hair was still damp from the shower she'd abandoned when the emergency call came through. 15 years of commanding the station had taught her that the really important alarms never waited for convenient moments. "Report," she ordered, settling into her command chair. The bridge hummed with activity as her crew worked at their stations. Lieutenant Commander James Park, her second in command, approached with a data tablet that displayed readings she'd never seen before. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Void Sector," Park said, his voice carrying a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "The signal signature matches the Stellar Wanderer." Elena felt her breath catch. The Stellar Wanderer had been Earth's most advanced deep space research vessel when it vanished 15 years ago. She remembered the day clearly because she'd been a junior officer then, watching the news broadcasts with the rest of humanity as search and rescue teams found nothing but empty space where the ship should have been. "That's impossible," Elena said, but even as she spoke, she was reviewing the data. The quantum signature was unmistakable. Every ship had a unique energy fingerprint, and this one belonged to a ghost. The Stellar Wanderer was declared lost with all hands after 6 months of searching. "Yes, ma'am, but the readings don't lie," Park replied. "The signal is coming from coordinates just outside the solar system. The ship is requesting permission to dock." Elena stared at the view screen, showing the star field where nothing should exist. The Void Sector had earned its name because it was an area of space where several expeditions had vanished over the decades. Most governments had declared it off-limits, a dead zone where space itself seemed hostile to life. "How many life signs?" she asked. Park consulted his tablet again. 3, Captain. All human, but there's something strange about the readings. The biosignatures are enhanced somehow, stronger than normal human baselines. Survivors after 15 years in deep space. Elena mused. That should be impossible. What's their condition? They claim to be in perfect health, ma'am. They're requesting immediate medical clearance and a meeting with Earth's senior command staff. Elena made her decision quickly. Unknown contacts from the Void Sector could mean danger, but these were supposedly her own people returning from the dead. Grant them docking clearance at Bay 7. Full quarantine protocols. I want medical teams standing by and security teams positioned, but not visible. If these are really our people, I don't want their homecoming to feel like an arrest. As the Stellar Wanderer approached the station, Elena watched through the observation deck windows. The ship looked like the same sleek research vessel that had departed Earth 15 years ago, but something was fundamentally different. The hull seemed to shimmer with an internal light, and the engine configuration had changed completely. Where once there had been conventional fusion drives, now there were structures that looked almost organic, like crystalline growths integrated into the ship's framework. Captain, the ship's power readings are off the charts, reported Chief Engineer Martinez from his station. Whatever they're using for propulsion, it's not any technology in our databases. Dr. Rebecca Hayes, the station's chief medical officer, joined Elena at the observation window. Her grey hair was pulled back in its usual practical bun, and her expression showed the professional concern Elena had come to rely on over the years. 3 survivors from a crew of 200, Dr. Hayes said quietly. The psychological trauma alone would be devastating, not to mention 15 years of isolation in deep space. We'll help them however we can, Elena replied. But first we need to understand what happened to them out there. The docking process proceeded smoothly. though the station's sensors continued to register energy readings that defied explanation. When the airlock finally opened, Alina was waiting with a small reception team. She had chosen people known for their calm demeanor and discretion. The first person to emerge was a man Alina recognized from the historical records, though he looked remarkably well for someone who should have been 15 years older. Dr. Marcus. Chen had been the Stellar Wanderer's chief physicist, a brilliant scientist in his 40s when the ship departed. Now he appeared to be the same age, but his eyes held depths that spoke of experiences beyond normal human understanding. Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Chen said, extending his hand in greeting. His grip was firm and warm, entirely human, despite the unusual energy readings surrounding him. Thank you for welcoming us home. Behind him came to others Alina didn't immediately recognize. Engineer Sarah Kim looked young, perhaps in her 30s, with short black hair and hands that seemed to shimmer slightly when she moved them. Navigator Tom Wilson was tall and lean, with dark skin and eyes that seemed to track movement with uncanny precision. Dr. Chen, Miss Kim, Mr. Wilson, Alina said formally, welcome back to Earth space. We have medical facilities prepared and comfortable quarters where you can rest and recover. We appreciate your hospitality, Captain, Dr. Chen replied, but we're not here to recover. We're here to prepare. Alina felt a chill at his words. Prepare for what? Sarah Kim stepped forward, and when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics. That made the words seem to resonate in ways that touched something deep in Elena's mind. The Hegemony Empire has been monitoring this region of space for decades. Our return will have triggered their attention. They'll be coming to investigate. Lena had heard whispers of the Hegemony Empire from deep space scouts and traders, but Earth had never made official contact. They were described as a confederation of alien species that controlled vast regions of the galaxy through superior technology and military might. The idea that Earth was on their radar was both thrilling and terrifying. How do you know about the Empire? Alina asked. Tom Wilson answered, his voice carrying the same unusual resonance as Sarah's. Because we've spent the last 15 years learning about the galaxy's true structure. The void sector isn't empty, Captain. It's a testing ground. Dr. Chen gestured toward the observation window where their ship waited in the docking bay. The Stellar Wanderer encountered something in the void sector that changed everything we thought we knew about the universe. We met a species called the Architects. Alina felt her world shifting. First contact with alien intelligence was humanity's greatest dream and greatest fear rolled into one momentous event. Are they hostile? They're ancient, Dr. Chen said carefully. Older than any civilization currently active in the galaxy. They don't interfere directly in the affairs of younger species, but they watch, they test, and occasionally, very rarely, they choose. Sarah Kim moved to one of the station's computer terminals and placed her hand on the interface. Without any input devices, data began flowing across the screen, showing stellar charts and energy readings that were far more detailed than anything Alina had ever seen. Asterisk. The Architects have been testing various species for millions of years, Sarah explained as the data continued to flow. They're looking for something specific. Most species fail the test because they approach first contact with either fear or aggression. A few fail because they lack the curiosity to grow beyond their current limitations. Alina watched the data displays with growing amazement. The information being accessed wasn't stored in the station's computers, yet somehow Sarah was retrieving it through direct interface. What makes humans different? Tom Wilson smiled, and for the first time since their arrival, he looked genuinely human rather than enhanced. We adapt. But more than that, we adapt while maintaining our compassion. Most species become either too rigid or too aggressive when faced with rapid change. Humans find ways to grow while keeping their core values intact. Dr. Chen stepped closer to Alina, and she could see that his eyes held flecks of silver that seemed to move like living things. The architects offered us a choice, Captain. They could enhance us, give us knowledge and capabilities beyond anything humanity had achieved, but only if we proved worthy. The test lasted 15 years. What kind of test? Alina asked. Survival first, Sarah said, her hands still interfaced with the computer terminal. The void sector is dangerous. Ships that enter unprepared are destroyed by gravitational anomalies, energy storms, and spatial distortions. But survival was just the beginning. Tom Wilson walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. The real test was what we did with the knowledge they shared, how we treated each other when we gained new abilities, whether we remained human in the ways that matter most. Alina felt a growing sense of urgency, and the Empire. Dr. Chen's expression became serious. The Hegemony Empire has ruled this region of space for thousands of years through technological superiority and military might. They've never encountered a species that gained architect enhancement because no species has passed the test in over 50,000 years. As if summoned by his words, Lieutenant Commander Park's voice came over the communication system. Captain Rodriguez, to the bridge. Immediately, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Alina looked at the 3 enhanced humans, and she could see in their eyes that they had been expecting this moment. The Empire. They detected our ship's return, Sarah confirmed, finally removing her hand from the computer terminal. Our technology creates energy signatures they've never encountered. They'll view us as either a threat to be eliminated or a prize to be captured. Tom Wilson turned from the window, and his enhanced senses seemed to be tracking something Alina couldn't perceive. 12 ships, Captain. Heavy cruisers by their energy output. They're taking up positions around the solar system. Dr. Chen placed a reassuring hand on Elena's shoulder. This is why we came home, Captain Rodriguez. Not to rest, but to prepare Earth for what comes next. The galaxy is about to discover that humanity is changed, and change makes everyone nervous. Alina felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders in ways she'd never experienced before. 15 minutes ago, her biggest concern had been routine station maintenance. Now she was apparently about to make first contact with an alien empire, while managing the return of enhanced humans who had spent 15 years being tested by ancient aliens. What do you need from me? Alina asked. Sarah Kim smiled, and for the first time since their arrival, the expression looked entirely human. Your trust, Captain, and your willingness to let us show the Empire that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to find solutions that benefit everyone. As Alina headed back to the bridge to face whatever was coming, she couldn't shake the feeling that this day would be remembered as the moment everything changed for humanity. The question was whether that change would be for the better or worse. The bridge was a controlled chaos of activity when Alina arrived. Her crew was tracking the incoming Empire ships with an efficiency born of years of training, but she could see the tension in their movements. This was beyond anything they had prepared for. Status report, Alina ordered as she took her command. Chair, 12 vessels confirmed, Park reported. They're significantly larger than anything in our files. Energy readings suggest weapon systems far beyond our defensive capabilities. Alina looked at the tactical display showing the Empire ships, positioning themselves around Earth's solar system. Their formation was methodical and professional, designed to cut off any escape routes while maintaining overlapping fields of fire. It was the work of an experienced military force that had done this many times before. "Are they communicating?" Alina asked. "Negative, ma'am. They're scanning everything in the system but haven't attempted contact." Dr. Chen, Sarah, and Tom had followed Alina to the bridge, and now they stood near the main view screen, studying the tactical display. Alina could see them processing information in ways that seemed almost telepathic, sharing glances and subtle gestures that conveyed volumes of meaning. "They're trying to understand what they're seeing," Dr. Chen explained. "The stellar wanderers' energy signature doesn't match anything in their databases. They're running every scan they can think of. Tom Wilson's enhanced senses seem to be tracking the Empire ships directly. The fleet commander is Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony 3rd Fleet. He's experienced but cautious. He won't attack until he understands what he's facing." Alina stared at Tom. "You can tell all that from here." "The architect enhancements include expanded sensory capabilities," Sarah explained. "We can perceive electromagnetic signatures, quantum fluctuations, even the neural patterns of life forms at considerable distances." "That's impossible." Chief Engineer Martinez protested from his station. Dr. Chen turned to face the bridge crew, and Alina could see him making a decision about how much to reveal. 15 years ago, it would have been impossible. But the architects exist outside normal space-time. Their technology operates on principles that transcend our current understanding of physics. Before anyone could respond, the communication system activated with an incoming transmission. The voice that emerged spoke accented but clear English, suggesting the Empire had been studying human communications for some time. "Earth vessels, this is Admiral Vextar of the Hegemony 3rd Fleet. You will immediately surrender the ship designated Stellar Wanderer and its occupants for examination. Compliance will result in no harm to your population. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." Alina felt every eye on the bridge turned to her. The weight of representing humanity in first contact with an alien empire was overwhelming, but she drew strength from years of command, experience, and the presence of the enhanced humans, who had returned to help prepare for this moment. She opened a communication channel, knowing that her next words would echo through history. "Admiral Vextar, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez of Earth. Defense Station, Omega. The Stellar Wanderer is a human vessel crewed by human citizens. We welcome peaceful contact with the Hegemony Empire, but we cannot surrender our people or technology." The response came quickly, carrying undertones of surprise and irritation. "Captain Rodriguez, you misunderstand the situation. The vessel in question carries technology beyond your species' capabilities. Such technology could not have been developed independently. Therefore, it must have been acquired through means we must investigate." Dr. Chen stepped forward and gestured for Alina to open the channel again. When she nodded, he spoke directly to the Empire fleet. "Admiral Vextar, this is Dr. Marcus Chun, Chief Physicist of the Stellar Wanderer. The technology you're detecting was not stolen or acquired through conquest. It was earned through a process of testing and growth that lasted 15 years. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded, and when he did, his voice carried new tension. "Impossible. No species achieves such advancement independently. You will surrender for interrogation, or we will take you by force." Alina watched the tactical display as the Empire ships began moving into attack formation. Whatever diplomatic solution might have existed was rapidly disappearing, and Earth's defensive capabilities were laughably inadequate against the force arrayed against them. But Sarah, Kim, was smiling as she watched the Empire ships maneuver. "They still don't understand what they're really facing," she said quietly. "They think in terms of conquest and surrender, weapons and defense. They've never encountered a species that found a different way." As the first Empire ship powered up its weapons, Alina realized that humanity was about to discover whether the test the three survivors had passed in the Void Sector had prepared them for the greatest challenge of all. Changing the minds of those who believed that might always makes right. Asterisk. The test of humanity, the bridge of Admiral Vextar's flagship, the Dominion's Will, was a monument to Empire efficiency. Sleek surfaces displayed tactical information in holographic detail, while his crew of various alien species worked with the coordinated precision of a military force that had conquered hundreds of worlds. The Admiral himself was an imposing figure, standing nearly 8 feet tall, with scaled skin that shifted between deep blue and purple depending on his emotional state. His 4 arms moved independently as he reviewed the data streaming in from his fleet's sensors. "Status of the unknown vessel," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to immediate obedience. "Commander Zeichth." His second-in-command, and a member of the same species, approached with a data crystal that pulsed with frustrated orange light. "Admiral, our scans are being actively blocked. The ship's defensive systems are unlike anything in our databases. Energy patterns suggest technology that predates our earliest records." Admiral Vextar's skin darkened to a deep purple, indicating his growing irritation. In his 40 years of service to the Empire, he had never encountered a species capable of blocking hegemony sensors. Their technology was built on the accumulated knowledge of thousands of conquered worlds, refined over millennia of warfare and expansion. "Increase scanning intensity," he ordered, "and prepare boarding pods. If their shields can block our sensors, we'll take what we need through direct action." But even as his crew prepared for assault, Vextar felt an unusual uncertainty. The human who had identified himself as Dr. Chen had spoken with confidence that suggested knowledge rather than bravado. In his experience, primitive species either cowered before Empire might or made empty threats. This Dr. Chen had done neither. On Earth Defense Station Omega, Elena Rodriguez watched her tactical display with growing dread. The Empire ships were moving into assault positions, and her defensive capabilities were essentially non-existent against such overwhelming force. Earth had defensive satellites and patrol ships, but they were designed for pirates and raiders, not a military force capable of interstellar conquest. "Captain, the lead Empire ship is charging weapons," Lieutenant Commander Park reported, his voice tight with controlled fear. Alina looked at Dr. Chen, who remained remarkably calm despite the circumstances. "Doctor, if you have any suggestions, now would be the time." Dr. Chen exchanged glances with Sarah and Tom, and Alina could see some form of silent communication passing between them. The silver flecks in his eyes seemed to brighten as he made a decision. "Captain, with your permission, I'd like to demonstrate something that might change the Admiral's perspective," Dr. Chen said. "But I need you to trust us completely, even when what you see seems impossible." Alina had commanded space vessels for 15 years, and she had learned that the most important decisions were often made with incomplete information. "What do you need?" "Allow us to interface directly with your station's systems," Sarah said, moving toward the primary command console. We can extend the architect's protective technology to cover the entire station and any Earth vessels in the area. Alina hesitated. Giving unknown entities access to her station's core systems violated every security protocol she knew. But conventional protocols seemed inadequate when facing an alien empire with the power to destroy worlds. Do it, Alina decided. Sarah placed both hands on the console, and immediately the bridge began to change. The standard displays flickered and were replaced by interfaces that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Information flowed across surfaces that shouldn't have been capable of displaying anything, and Alina could feel a subtle shift in the station's fundamental energy patterns. Tom Wilson closed his eyes and extended his awareness beyond the station's hull. His enhanced senses reached out across space, touching the minds of the Empire crews and their ship systems. What he found there was both expected and troubling. They've never encountered peaceful resistance, he reported to Alina and Dr. Chen. Every species they've faced has either surrendered immediately or fought with conventional weapons. They literally don't have protocols for what we're about to show them. Dr. Chen opened a communication channel to the Empire fleet, but this time his voice carried harmonics that resonated not just through the speakers, but through the very structure of space itself. Alina could feel the words as much as hear them. Admiral Vexter, Dr. Chen said, humanity offers you a gift that the Hegemony Empire has never received before. We offer you the opportunity to learn something new. The Admiral's response came immediately, crackling with irritation and disbelief. Your species has existed in space for less than a century. What could you possibly teach an empire that has ruled the galaxy for millennia? We can teach you what the architects taught us, Dr. Chen replied calmly. That true strength doesn't come from the ability to destroy, but from the ability to create solutions that benefit everyone. On the Dominion's will, Admiral Vextar's skin had shifted to a deep red that indicated both anger and confusion. His tactical officers were reporting sensor readings that defied explanation. The human station was generating energy patterns that seemed to bend space itself, creating fields of force that his weapons couldn't penetrate. Impossible, he muttered, studying the displays. No species develops such technology independently, Commander. Zykov approached with obvious concern. Admiral, our weapon systems are being affected. The energy fields emanating from the human station are interfering with our targeting computers. But it wasn't just interference, Vexter realized as he studied the readings more carefully. The human technology wasn't jamming their systems or blocking their weapons. Instead, it was gently redirecting them, causing targeting solutions to shift toward empty space and weapon charges to dissipate harmlessly into the cosmic background. They're not trying to destroy us, he said, his voice carrying a note of wonder that his crew had never heard before. They're trying to make it impossible for us to destroy them. The concept was so alien to Empire thinking that Vextar struggled to process it. Every military encounter in Empire history had been resolved through superior firepower. Species either surrendered to avoid destruction or fought until one side was eliminated. The idea of defense without offense, of protection without retaliation, was completely outside his experience. Dr. Chen's voice came over the communication system again, and this time the harmonics seemed to touch something deep in Vextar's consciousness. Admiral, may I share with you the story of what happened to the Stellar Wanderer in the Void Sector? Against his better judgment, Vextar found himself curious. Speak. The story that Dr. Chen told was unlike anything in Empire records. He described the Stellar Wanderer's encounter with spatial anomalies that should have destroyed the ship, but instead led them to a realm where the architects waited. These ancient beings had transcended physical form eons ago, but they continued to watch younger species, hoping to find ones capable of growth beyond conquest and domination. The test lasted 15 years, Dr. Chen explained. We were given challenges that could only be solved through cooperation and creativity. We were offered power that could only be wielded responsibly, and we were taught that the greatest achievements come not from defeating others, but from lifting everyone up together. Sarah Kim's voice joined the transmission, carrying the same impossible harmonics. The architects have watched the hegemony empire for thousands of years. Admiral, they've seen how your conquests have brought order to chaotic regions of space, how your technology has improved the lives of many species, but they've also seen the cost of ruling through fear. Tom Wilson added his own perspective, his enhanced senses reaching across space to touch the minds of the Empire crews. Every species you've conquered has submitted because they had no choice. But what if there was another way? What if strength could be shared instead of imposed? Admiral Vextar felt something shifting in his understanding of the universe. The Empire had brought peace to countless worlds, but it was a peace built on the certainty that resistance was futile. These humans were offering something he had never considered: cooperation between equals. Demonstrate, he commanded, his voice carrying new respect despite his confusion. Elena watched in amazement as the three enhanced humans worked together to show the Empire fleet what architect technology could accomplish. Instead of weapons or shields, they created fields of energy that began repairing damage to both the human station and the Empire ships. Systems that had suffered from long service were restored to perfect function. Energy patterns that had been destabilized by the confrontation were harmonized and balanced. But more than the technology itself, Alina could see the effect it was having on the Empire crews. Tom Wilson's expanded awareness allowed him to sense their reactions, and he shared those perceptions with Alina through their growing connection to the architect systems. They're not afraid anymore, Tom reported. They're curious. For the first time in their military careers, they're seeing technology used to heal rather than harm. Commander Zyke approached Admiral Vextar with obvious bewilderment. Admiral, the humans are repairing our ships. Our engines are running more efficiently than they have in years. Our hull integrity has been restored to better than factory specifications. Vextar stared at his displays, watching human technology work to improve Empire systems. The concept violated everything he had been taught about interspecies relations. Why, he asked, opening a communication channel to the human station. Dr. Chen's response carried warmth that transcended the limitations of technology. Because we can, Admiral. Because making things better is what the architects taught us to value above all else. And because we believe that the galaxy has room for friendship as well as conquest. For long minutes, space around Earth was filled with the quiet hum of architect technology working to improve rather than destroy. Empire ships found their systems running with impossible efficiency, while human vessels discovered capabilities they had never imagined. But the most important change was happening in the minds of both species. Alina felt it first as a subtle shift in her own thinking. The defensive preparations she had been making seemed less important than the possibilities for cooperation that were opening up. The Empire fleet was no longer a threat to be feared, but a potential partner in exploring the galaxy's mysteries. Admiral Vextar experienced a similar transformation. His tactical instincts, honed by decades of warfare, were being supplemented by new awareness of what could be accomplished through collaboration. The humans had shown him something that the Empire's greatest philosophers had never imagined: strength that grew through sharing rather than diminished. Dr. Chen Vextar said finally, his voice carrying new respect. The Empire has protocols for conquest and protocols for surrender. We have no protocols for what you're offering. Then perhaps it's time to write new protocols, Dr. Chen replied. The architects told us that every species eventually faces a choice between growth and stagnation. The Empire has grown through conquest, and that has brought you far. But there are forms of growth that conquest cannot achieve. Sarah Kim added her own perspective, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the very structure of space. The galaxy is vast, Admiral. There are mysteries out there that can only be solved through cooperation, challenges that can only be met by species working together as equals. Alina found herself speaking before she had consciously decided to join the conversation. Admiral, humanity is young and inexperienced compared to the Empire. We have much to learn from your knowledge and your achievements. But perhaps we also have something to offer in return. The hours that followed would later be remembered as the turning point when the galaxy discovered a new way forward. Representatives from the Empire came aboard Earth Defense Station Omega not as conquerors but as guests. Human scientists worked alongside Empire researchers to understand the implications of architects' technology. And slowly, carefully, the foundations were laid for an alliance that would transform both civilizations. Dr. Chen stood on the observation deck watching Empire and human ships working together to establish communication relays and research stations. Sarah and Tom were deep in conversation with Empire scientists, sharing insights about technology that operated on principles beyond conventional physics. Alina joined him at the observation window, still struggling to process everything that had happened. Is this what the architects intended when they chose to enhance you? Dr. Chen smiled, and for the first time since his return, the expression was entirely human despite the silver flecks in his eyes. The architects don't dictate outcomes, Captain. They simply create opportunities for growth. What we do with those opportunities is always our choice. And you chose to share rather than dominate, Alina observed. We chose to remain human in the ways that matter most, Dr. Chen corrected gently. The enhancements, the technology, the expanded capabilities, they're all tools. But the values that guide how we use those tools, those come from who we were before we met the architects. Through the observation window, Alina could see Admiral Vextar's shuttle approaching for another round of discussions about establishing formal diplomatic relations between Earth and the Empire. The alien admiral had adapted to the new situation with remarkable flexibility, showing that the capacity for growth wasn't limited to any single species. What happens now? Alina asked. Tom Wilson joined them at the window, his enhanced awareness monitoring the peaceful activities of both fleets. Now we learn from each other. The Empire has knowledge of thousands of worlds and civilizations. Humanity has perspectives shaped by different experiences and challenges. Together, we might be able to accomplish things that neither of us could achieve alone. Sarah Kim approached with a datapad displaying star charts that showed regions of space neither Empire nor human explorers had ever visited. The architects left other testing grounds throughout the galaxy, places where worthy species might encounter opportunities for growth. Perhaps it's time to explore them together. Alina looked at the charts showing unexplored regions of space, then at the mixed fleet of human and Empire vessels working together in Earth's solar system. 15 years ago, the Stellar Wanderer had departed on humanity's most ambitious exploration mission. Now they had returned with the keys to adventures beyond anything Earth. had ever imagined. The future stretched ahead, full of possibilities that conquest alone could never have created. The galaxy was about to discover what could be accomplished when species chose cooperation over domination, when strength was measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the capacity to create and explore together. And at the center of it all, 3 enhanced humans who had passed an ancient test, not by becoming something other than human, but by becoming the best of what humanity could be. Asterisk.